Good morning, everyone. I am Nitin Kunneparambil, and today I have this great privilege and happiness to interview my beloved friend Ayush Srivastava, who has got this tremendous result of rank 437 in UPSC 2020. So, Ayush, once again, welcome.
Thank you, Nitin. Such a wonderful moment. It's such a great moment that I'm sharing this thing with you. And I remember last year also we did the same thing, and the difference is that I was standing on the opposite side.
Yeah, I mean, last year you were the one who interviewed me. I think it's such a rendezvous moment for us that the chairs have turned, and I couldn't express how happy I am that my beloved friend is there in the exact same as that of
Yeah.
place that of mine, and we share this beautiful bond. So again, congratulations once again. So, but then my first question is, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's surreal. I don't know how to express. You pray that I want to see my name in the list, and somehow you see your name in the list, and you feel ecstatic that all these so many years of hard work has resulted something concrete now. And though there was little sadness also, let's not deny that. I wanted to see that. So my first preference was always IAS, and so I started from the very top, and I see, okay, if I see my name in first 100 and 200, but then it didn't happen. But then I realized, like, whatever rank, whatever the service you get, you just need to express, you just need to accept and express your gratitude towards Almighty. And I feel uh, I feel happy, and I'm looking forward to whatever the assignment I get.
And I think you are in for the police service,
Yeah,
right?
I expect to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, yet to come. But then, I think, one can always make a guess. I mean, I remember those days when, the initial race, when results had come and, people kept on jotting down, okay, yeah, which service do I get? So I think you might be going through that moment. But then, it's a very, very beautiful moment. Anyway, so, but then can you just walk us through your journey towards how you started and, how we ended up here? At least just for, I know it definitely because, but then for the sake of other people here, if you could just
Yeah.
tell us.
So UPSC was never into my mind. I started working with Infosys in 2011-12, and I thought, like, I'm not good enough to prepare for civil services. That was my thought at that time. But when it was in 2014, then I thought, like, why not to prepare for this examination? So I left my job in 2015 and I started preparing for civil services examination. I attempted 2015, 16, 17, 18, four mains, and given interview in between as well. But after my 2018 mains, I could not able to clear 2018 mains. At that time, there was a realization, okay, this is not for you, and you should move forward. And one should also accept that, okay, if the service is not for you, okay, something else beautiful is around the corner. So I left this preparation phase, and and somehow I came to Kerala in 2019 February, and I started teaching and I mentoring students preparing for civil services. But then in 2020, I decided, okay, my final attempt is left. Why not go back to Delhi and prepare again? And but I must confess that it was very tough for me in 2020 and 21, because one, the fact that COVID happened, and also there were some personal issues in my life, so I could not able to concentrate much. But now I look back all that struggle and I see my name in the list. I feel so blessed that something beautiful has happened, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So it was a long journey, 6 attempts and 5 mains and few interviews as well to see my name in the list. Yeah. And you
See,
yourself in the service, you know better that how one feels looking one's name in the list. Yeah.
so my another question is that when generally people when they take such toppers interview, they always celebrate the greatness of the servers and how we cracked it, your strategy. But seldom do people speak about the very melting points. Like I remember, I think it was in 2016 when I made it to the interview, and when I looked for my name in the list, I was not there in the list. And the people just kept on calling, and I kept on answering, no, I didn't get the I couldn't make it to the list. And that night, somewhere around 12 o'clock, I was like laying on my bed, and I thought, if the earth could split into two, and if I could just fall in, and that it'd be the end of it. And now when you look at it, many such moments, sometimes when you don't crack your mains and all. And I remember one time when I saw it, and literally water just started coming in my eyes. I mean, nobody really speaks about these things. Can you please tell me, because six attempts is a large one, right? And what are the melting moments? If I just people should know that it's a very tough exam, and we have all gone through this Agni Pariksha, as people call it. So, any such moments for you? Maybe I hope that.
There were many moments. I must, if I recollect. First, in 2016, I could not able to clear my mains. After then, I realized that law is not working for me because I took law as an optional, being an engineer. So that was a realization. Now I should change my optional, but there was no option because we have already filled the form for 2017. So that was the moment that I was shattered, that why I left my job and I entered into such an uncertain world. And the next biggest shock, I would say, in 2018, because after giving 2017 interview, I was expecting, okay, I'll secure a rank. If not, I'll reach till interview again. But I could not able to clear 2018 mains. That was a very big setback. And then I spoke to my brother and I said, okay, let's accept it. This is not for you. It is not for me, and I should move forward. But he is the one support system. He pushed me. No, I feel that you have all the capabilities and you will clear this examination. He said that what you can do is just take a break, start working somewhere, and then after that, again give your best shot as the last shot. So somehow I came to Kerala also, and that was a very good phase that I spent. But again, in 2020, I would say, when COVID happened, and as I said that there were some personal issues, I felt that now I just want this examination to end. That's it. I don't want to get selected, even if I can't take this burden and this stress to be in this phase of UPSC. So I think that was again tough phase. So I would say there were many, and now I look back that all those moments were the testing times, I would say.
And indeed, I think every UPSC aspirant can relate to it, I suppose. And so, but then again, let us come to this idea: law as an optional. How did you end up there? And what made you to take law as an optional? And is there any message that you have to tell people who are watching this, at least the aspirants who are watching it? How should you be choosing an optional? Yeah, maybe we can talk a bit about this thing. This seems like a very important thing, isn't it?
Very important. I feel that was now I have cleared with law, so I cannot say that was a big mistake or something, but I would say that was not a smart decision, taking law as an option, because there was no guidance. There was not any faculty or test series available as well. It's just that I spoke to one of the toppers in 2014, and he said that law is much scoring than political science, and I was about to take PSIR as my optional, and that was something that I thought, okay, if law is more scoring than PSIR, why wouldn't I take law as my optional? So that was not a smart decision, I would say. And but as I said, that when this examination is is conducted in such a way that you cannot change your optional if you're writing your mains regularly. You can understand that. And all through I was writing my mains, so I did not get an opportunity to shift my optional. So what I did after 2016, I spoke to one of my friends. He is already in the service in IRS, Varun. And I said that, see, we both are not able to score good marks. Why not we do something? So we started visiting some of the law fac institutions, DU, and started talking to some of the faculties of law. If you can check our answer sheets. And somehow one or two faculties also checked our answer sheet, and they gave us some idea that, okay, how we should write our answers. So what we did, we tried to replicate the same standard of answer in all our answers. And we wrote all the previous 15 or 20 years of questions in law. And somehow we kind of created a structure how to write law optional answers. And what happened that year, in 2017, we were like the toppers in law optional. I got around 280s. He also got 280s. And in 2019, again, I got 293 in my law optional. This is how I realized now I'm going on the right track in law. This year also my exams went quite good, but I'm not sure about the score because law hasn't performed well this year, and because I haven't seen many people clearing from law, and also I haven't seen my mark sheet, so I have to see that how did I perform. Yeah. So my suggestion is that take any optional thinking about how that optional is the results of in that optional. For that matter, I would always support anthropology as an optional, because I've seen anthropology performing exceedingly well in all attempts. Also, one can see the interest where one feel comfortable. If I would see again myself preparing for UPSC, I might choose PSIR because my interest lies in reading constitution and international relations, right? And also third is, one should see that is there any support system that is available, a good faculty, a good test series, or even for that matter, any good any person who has cleared the examination and that person is available. Like for instance, you cleared from history, right? I can think about taking history because I know that okay, Nitin is available to guide me all the time. So these are the three factors. One, the optional has to be scoring, for instance anthropology. Second, interest lies, for instance PSIR. And third, the guidance which is there. For instance, as I said, history or PSIR, also good guidance is available in the market.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. I think, given a chance, you have to take this exam in such a way that you have to clear as optional in such a way that you have to clear with that optional and not try to be a master of it. I think that's a mistake which I made. I try to specialize it in so much. I try to read a lot. I mean, as a person, I think it has really enriched me, but not necessarily as a aspirant. I should have been more smarter. So one takeaway for all of people should be that make sure that your optional should be to clear your exam and not to amass knowledge.
And one thing I want to add here, I have seen a lot of aspirants committing this mistake, that since they are always said that you have to read 2 newspapers daily, you have to practice answer writing in GS and all. So they overemphasize on GS 2 and 3, right? You also feel that way. So one should know where to stop. If we are reading, even if only one newspaper, the Hindu, and if we are making notes, we know that, okay, that is it where I have to stop. And now I have to start preparing for my option. This is one mistake. People read Indian Express, the Hindu, and in the end, they don't perform well in mains because they don't perform well in their optionals. This is one thing that people should understand and follow.
Yeah, I personally see that when I have been involved with you very closely throughout my preparation, and you have really guided me through. I remember late nights when you used to sit there and the whiteboard, you used to write, and I take down notes from this thing. When we are driving in car, you remember. I remember there's one question regarding agriculture, and Sampada scheme and mega food parks. The question came, I knew it. Whatever you said, I didn't study it, but whatever you said, I jotted it down. And whatever law concepts your men's sphere. I mean, in my answer scripts, if you see, your role is very significant because lot of things, whatever you said, tribunalization of justice, it's there. I wrote it down. So my question is that what is the role of your study partners, your friends, and all during preparation?
So I feel that one should follow a very mixed approach here. Study partner is to some extent is required when one is not very comfortable with the subject with. Like in, for instance, law optional, I could not able to clear 15 and 16 attempts. So I thought that, okay, I need someone to study. So that's why my friend came and helped me a lot. But at the same time, I feel that too much emphasis on the study partner is not good, but it depends on an individual. For me, I need to spend time with myself. I need to write answers. I need to ensure that I analyze those answers. And with study partner, you try to discuss a lot. But I'm not someone who's so intellectually sound that I just discuss those things and I just write in the answer sheets. I need to practice on my own. And I always know the fact that I am not very much gifted, intellectually gifted person. I'm a very hardworking person. That is something. But I am a very average student. I have been an average student. So I thought, like, how can an average student crack this examination? By hard work and by writing again and again and using a study partner very selectively. So this is the approach I follow.
Because I suppose in your preparation, I've noticed that there are some strong points. Like I remember you had scored like some 120 in GS2, isn't it? Yeah. So, and GS2 is a subject which I have always faced a problem, and I think in Kerala a lot of people do face that problem. I mean, I've not seen people score extremely high in GS2, but then see that's what everyone has their own stronghold. Like for you, I think I should be right as well. In GS2, you score extremely high mark, like like how essay is there for me. I generally score extremely high marks in essay. So how do you see the subject like GS2? It's a very vast subject. How do people generally? I mean, I really want the aspirants to know about this particular topic of GS2 and how what your approach to it is.
I found GS2 extremely easy because everything is clear that what kind of questions UPSC is asking. So you know the fact that all the polity questions are very much clear. They're gonna ask one question from, let's say, from constitutional bodies. There are 3, 4 constitutional bodies. They're gonna ask one question from fundamental rights. So when you read fundamental rights, you know that, right? The polity is very much clear. Similarly, you know that IR questions are very much recent questions they're gonna ask. So if you know the basic structure, how to write IR answer, so you can solve that. And small tips and bits like social justice and governance are very factual. You must know the schemes and the basic understanding of social issues, then you can solve that. So I thought like I understood that paper really well, and then I started answering, and then I linked my optional knowledge, and that is how I somehow increased my marks. But I never thought something special I did. I thought like this is something I picked up very early, this subject. And apart from that, I feel GS3 was my weak area. I was not very sound in economy. Similarly, in small tits and beats like disaster management and all in environment. So there I had to work extremely hard. And I feel very happy that this year my GS3 paper was, I was so happy that I performed better than my GS2 paper. So I felt, okay, this year so I'm going to score really well. In fact, after writing my GS3 paper, in the break between GS3 and GS4, I was only thinking about, okay, under 100 is bar aa jayega, under 100 is bar aa jayega. And then what happened? I screwed my GS4. I could not able to perform well. And then I went back and I said, "Nahi, इस बार तो list में भी नहीं आएगा." So I won't get an opportunity to see my name in the list. So this is how you should be practical. If you performed well in one paper, you should be balanced. Okay, there is another challenge is around the corner after 2 hours or after 1.5 hours, and you should be balanced. So I said that. That's the challenge. How to balance GS2 and 3 is the biggest challenge in my opinion in UPSC journey, because optional can be done if you're really good in that, but GS2 and 3, the syllabus is so vast and every day new things are coming, so one should be very smart to filter out what to do and what not to do.
So that's my question again. Like I remember one time when we discussed, you spoke about this ARC report, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what do you do with that? I mean, it seems like a very humongous report. I've tried to cherry pick a few here and there, but I remember you speaking very high about it. How did you navigate such a big report?
So first of all, it's very simple. What one must do is that I think the first step of any aspirant is to understand the syllabus well and understand the previous year questions well, right? So once you understand the syllabus, then you know that, okay, what we need to read. And if you see the index of ARC report, whatever syllabus they have written, the same reports they have published. Like that local governance, very beautiful ARC report is there. Right? Similarly, e-governance and all. These are the topics, and we know that local governance, one question is coming for sure. So why not we read it? We have a cursory look. We take out important points. Because the fact that in local governance we have to write the suggestions, what is required, and suggestions are already there in ARC. Why not we pick the same suggestion and write in the writing that, okay, this is written in ARC, second ARC. So the examiner feel, okay, whatever the point he's providing, that is a credible source he's putting. So I think that's why I rate them extremely high.
Now, can you please tell me about your interview? Interview seems like the most interesting part of the UPSC journey, and it's always very pleasure. I mean, simultaneously it is frightening, at the same time it's also exhilarating. So your interview experience.
So I feel I don't know, people have different perception about, okay, prelims means. I found that for me, interview, I felt in my first attempt, okay, interview I'll do well, because I used to work in Infosys, and there I used to interact with my seniors and all. And they used to feel that, okay, interview is all about having a good interaction. Okay, how to speak, we need to emphasize how to speak. If you speak well, you can score good marks. But that is a wrong perception. It's not about how you speak, it's all about how you analyze a situation, right? So when I got very poor marks in my first interview, then I thought, like, okay, let me rethink what I need to do to improve my marks. And this year, fortunately, we got a lot of time because of COVID issues. So I discussed a lot with so many people. I remember I used to call you also. Please guide me. I got an opportunity to got some very good guidance in Amrita IAS Academy itself. I want to mention my friend's name Anubhav Sharma, who has helped me immensely. He used to take my classes. Like he used to ask me questions every day over phone, and he used to give me replies that this is how you should reply. And so somehow I understood that what is the thing which is required in an interview. And so I thought like I found myself I'm not that good in interview. So this year I worked exceedingly hard to score good marks, but I thought like I could not able to. I got the same board which I got in 2017, and the board didn't give me very good marks. So let's see.
No, Ayush, I think it's too early to say. Let the marks come out. Maybe who knows? Maybe you have very high marks there, right?
He asked me a lot of factual questions where I could not able to answer, but it started off really well. All those analytical questions I answered them really well. But when the factual questions they asked, that at that time I could not able to answer. So we'll see.
No, that's what, because I saw that you were a bit off about your interview, but then after you telling me, I was telling it's not that bad as it makes it. You make it sound. I think, and I told you before that there is a good chance. You should. And you were asking me, मेरे मन रखने के लिए तो नहीं बोल रहे हो. I think, no, honestly. Okay, so but interview, yeah, that was a very interesting. So that's the thing, maybe for me also, I think Mohan Kumar sir, right? He, the former Defense Secretary of India, so he used to be, I mean, he's there in Trivandrum and University Samrita also. So I had trained very extensively under him. I think, last many times me and there's another friend of ours. So we used to go there and, we sit and chit chat about almost everything. And, he just breaks it down into different points. But that's also the thing, right? I think more as students, as aspirants, we have the staunch ideological some baggages, ideological leaning things. So which needs to completely go, and you have to see things for what they are, not things for what they should be.
In my case, it was completely different. See, you have seen me. I have always been at the center. I don't take a stand. Either it's right or the left. I always believe that we need to take the centrist idea in order to score good marks. But that doesn't work in interview. In interview, you need to take a strong stand. Either it's leftist or rightist, it doesn't matter. But if your stand is with good analytical thought, then they're gonna give you good marks. That was the biggest thing that was lacking in my interviews, initial mock interviews. When they wanted me to take a stand, I was taking a stand, but they were not really happy with my stand. So at that time I realized, okay, now I have to some extent I have to first take stand, and that stand should be based on the logical analysis. So what you said is absolutely correct. In your case, you might need to mellow down yourself. Yeah. In my case, I had to decide that, okay, now I have to take a stand.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we can't just be a part of the bureaucratic inertia. And, we have people who have to act, such decisive, that's very much needed. Again, I also want to quiz you about your choice of service. But, your first choice was, needless to say, it was Indian Administrative Service. And then you took police service. And for a person like me, my first choice was the Indian Foreign Service. And this is one tussle we have had a number of times, me constantly pushing, foreign service pehle dal do, foreign service pehle dal do. And, in fact, I asked you to put it even above IAS and not as your second option. So now that, things have, played out in an open, how do you see, IPS and, IFS? What is your take on it, and what is your message to the people who are watching it?
Yeah, I mean it's very subjective. In my case, why I started this preparation, the only motivation that I want to serve in staying in India and do something for the people of India. So I thought going abroad or staying in like any country, with full regards to IFS, but that is not my kind of a service. I never wanted to stay abroad. I wanted to stay in India at the ground level and try to help people. That was the only motivation that I had. So I found that police service is good. Though I thought a lot about police and the foreign service. I compared them, and then I spoke to my brother, my family. So then I decided, okay, what was my first motivation towards the civil services? It is just that to stay in India and serve people of India. So So that I decided, okay, let's take police service first and then go for it. And if I have taken that, I don't need to think about it. Okay, later on, no, we should have taken full foreign service. And I'm extremely happy that I might get police service. And if I get it, I'll try my best to do whatever the things in my mind. So I'll do it.
And no doubt, I think every single service, and if somebody asked me this question, I was telling them, see, our country is a very complex machine, and we are just, this nuts and bolts here and there. So, and if one stop working, everything suffers. It's not really about, it's about, rightly said, what is your preference and where you think you can contribute to the success story of our country. Wonderful. Now, another thing, one question which always, keeps bugging people. When do you take a plan B? What should a plan B, should be? Because I've seen a lot of them. We ourselves had gone through that phase and a thing like this, had we not made it to the list, ye kar sakte the, wo kar sakte the. Now, I remember the number of nights they had, talked about this thing. Ab hamara kya hoga? Ye nahi niklega to, iski baat kya karenge? So, aapki, message for the people here.
I think I'm not the right person to comment on that. I always believe that one should take risk. And I never thought about plan B. Okay, if my plan A is UPSC, then I have to give my 100% in that. If I think about the plan B, I'm not very smart enough to handle both the things. So I thought, okay, I'll give my 2-3 years in UPSC, and then I'll decide. Our country is full of opportunities. So in that way, I cleared SSC examination twice also, but I could not able to join. Like I decided I won't join these services. And that was to some extent mistake. I accept that. When you secure a rank in a very, very good service, you should join and balance both, staying in the service and UPSC preparation. But I didn't do that, and I think that was a mistake. One shouldn't do that. So I would say that spend 1 to 2 years wholeheartedly in UPSC, and then start thinking about the plan B. Plan B can be anything. It can be cracking another examination. It can be if you have a business. It can be working in private sector. I always believe that I'm good in teaching. I can teach always, and I started believing that okay, this might be my plan B. And I'm happy that I've now secured a rank, so I don't need to think about a plan B much.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm not a very good example to aspirants and students because I always lived my life on the edge, always in that stress, what is going to happen. So there is a dialogue in aspirant series. Now, plan B is for losers, not for winners. But that's not the right way to look at it. One should always take care of the plan B. And I would really tell all the aspirants that think about your plan B, but make sure that you are serious about your plan A also.
Yeah, that's what, when I thought about plan B and I started discussing this with my sister, she told me, what is this? Plan B is plan A. That's what she said. But, retrospectively, when I think, it's a very bold, very immature move. Maybe, somewhere down the line after maybe, 1-2 years into the preparation, one could think about it. And I've seen people who have done it also.
A person like you shouldn't think much about plan B. I think you are very, very smart. I mean, like you have done your masters from IIT, you have worked abroad. I think your profile is extremely good. I think you should give yourself your time to this preparation, and I think opportunities will definitely open up for you. This is what I always believe.
What you said is also absolutely right, because I think the thing about our country is, our country is full of opportunities. That's what you said, and I think it is absolutely true. Just because you didn't make it to the list, or you didn't crack this exam, that by no chance is a metric to evaluate yourself. It's not your thing about self-worth. No, it's not about that. Our country is full of opportunities, and when you actually travel the world, that's when you actually understand how great a country our country is. Because the optimism in people's eye, there are a long way to go, no doubt. I'm not trying to say that everything is hunky dory here, but then there are a lot of things to be done in our country, and smart people who have actually trained themselves in UPSC. I think there are a lot of things which is going to come your way, no doubt about it. For example, I remember that the same year which I cracked the UPSC, I had written the Kerala Administrative Service, and that took with zero preparation. And when I say it, I'm not exaggerating it, and I'm actually telling it. When I don't say I don't study, I literally didn't study, and I just wrote it, and I was quite tired. And luckily a lot of mathematics questions, which I could just nip it in the bud. And there are a lot of other, polity history questions which I was able to solve. But then, you could crack it. So that's the thing about UPSC. Once you clear UPSC, and if you can, not necessarily if you don't tailor make it for other things. In my case, it just so happened that KS came for the first time, and nobody knew how the exam was going to be, so I was able to crack it. So people, you should maybe, after 1-2 years, as Ayush was saying, maybe think about it, but always be in for it by an A itself. That's your priority. So yeah, again, now let me ask you about this most billion-dollar question. I also personally feel it. Is newspaper reading and religiously following it, is it a bit overrated?
I would say that completely relying on the newspaper and like just reading newspaper, believing that by just reading newspaper you're going to perform really good. I think that's not a good way to proceed, because you end up wasting a lot of your time, because reading newspaper is it takes a lot of time. Let's accept it. And as I said also, some people are really gifted that they can read newspaper and they can make notes also very quickly. I'm not that gifted person. I need to read newspaper slowly. I need to understand it. Then I have to make notes. So for me, exceedingly, like spending a lot of time in reading newspaper is not a very smart strategy. So, but also just relying on some of the magazines is also not a smart strategy. So what one should do is a mixed approach. What I used to do is just concentrate a lot on editorials of newspapers, like the Hindu, or sometimes the explained page of Indian Express, about it, right? And also what I used to do is that whenever I read them, any article, I need to ensure that I'll make notes of that. So this year, the biggest change I did is I started using Evernote for my mains preparation as well. So I made one note and I distributed that note in GS2, 3, and within that science and technology, environment and ecology and all. So if I'm reading an article on environment, right, whatever the things I've learned, I just put that thing in my Evernote in environment section, right? And this is how somehow I arranged my notes well. So I would say that read newspaper. If you watch daily news analysis or something, that also comes in, that is also effective and helpful also. And if you read selective magazines, all three selectively, do not spend a lot of time and start making notes of those whatever you are learning, and try to do one thing. Try to write one answer or two answers daily. So what you're doing, whatever you're learning from the newspaper, you're putting those things in those answers, right? You are expressing, or you are the factual details or whatever coming in newspaper, you are putting those things in your answers. Slowly you start replicating the same things in your answers. And when you give your mains, what I did this year, I did dress rehearsal twice, GS 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I took a break, then GS 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I wrote GS 1, 2, 3, 4 in my mains examination. So reading newspaper, taking out important points, putting it in my answers, that really helped me in performing well in my mains. But the question is that, is newspaper overrated? Exceedingly emphasis on newspaper is overrated. One should be smart enough, yes, but that is a different thing. For interview, newspaper is very, very important. You have to spend nearly 80% of your time in newspapers. For mains, only editorials. And for prelims, not editorials. I mean, whatever the new things that are coming. And also you need to solve a lot of test papers. Through test paper, you can reach out to, or you can find out so many current events that are happening, right? So there is a different strategy of all phases. The prelims, no editorial, just emphasize on the new news that are coming, and just you need to just understand that. For mains, only editorials. And for interview, the whole aspect, whatever the whole newspaper, very religiously. That is not required for mains, but for interview, religious newspaper understanding.
Okay. Now, another question which I have is with respect to your, Agyatwas, which you had in Kerala from, Delhi to Kerala. So how was your experience here at Amrita? And, for me, it is extremely beneficial, because I think I got a friend for a lifetime. But for you, I want to know, how do you see this whole time here in Kerala, and our people, the place, and the food, and yeah,
I think that is I won't call it Agyatwas. I think that for me that was the most beautiful phase of this preparation, uh, because when you are sitting in a room in Delhi, not understanding what is happening outside, and all of a sudden you go to another state, and that too extremely from down south, meeting different people, uh, students, new food, and you were there to take me everywhere to beaches, Varkala, and everywhere. So I thought like it was wonderful moment. I first expressed my gratitude to Amma, Vishwanath Amrita sir, and whole Amrita IS Academy. I think they helped me immensely. It's not about it's all about emotional support. When I was down and out, that it is not my cup of tea. UPSC is not my cup of tea. They were always there. No, no, you have all that capability. You have that potential to crack this examination. I would say Hari, he really stood behind me. No, no, you can crack this examination. You, without saying anything, like you were there as a friend. You have helped me immensely in my preparation phase as well. I still remember I sent you my essay and you just sent me your essay, and I've learned so much from you, how you bring emotions in your essay. That's why you scored so well. I think you as a friend, uh, taking care of me every time when I was in Trivandrum. And I think students, I would say I connected well with all the students, and still I used to get messages from the students. Okay, sir, you will definitely clear. I am praying, my brother is praying, my family is praying. So I used to feel that okay, so many people are praying, now I must get into services. And that is so special. So I think I must express my, I mean, like, I'm extremely happy that I met such wonderful people, such wonderful
Mhm.
place, and food is very, very good. I like the food. I think I think you took me to different restaurants that is really good, and even Amrita's food I really enjoyed, especially Sundays. You know that chicken and all, and I think the whole Kerala taking very good care of me, and I really, really enjoyed my time in Kerala. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, that's the thing. Sometimes we get to meet there in Delhi, and sometimes we meet in Khan Market or CP or somewhere, and then suddenly I don't know, life has just taken us. I don't know where we are right now, and kahan jaane wale hain. I don't know when your cataract location will be. We'll be in some corner of the country. I'll be in some corner of the world, and
Beauty of
but
life.
nonetheless, you've always been a very good friend, and I think it was such a beautiful team that we were in Amrita, and the whole
I
space.
think that's I would want to say something here also. I think the kind of colleagues we got as a faculty team, they were extremely helpful. I think you, Ambu, so many people were there, and I think you as a faculty, I've learned so much from you. The command that you have on your subject, the way you take your classes, the connect that you have with students. I think I must appreciate those things. And you always say that I have helped you immensely. You have helped me immensely. It's not about always academically you were helping me in writing all those answers. It's all about how to live your life happily. I have learned from you. You were always a jovial person, always happy, enjoying your life. So I always used to tell my parents also, I want to be like Nitin, though I can't be like him, but I want to be like him. So I think
कुछ
that
ज्यादा ही चढ़ा रहे तो
तो वो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा, and I really enjoyed. And I want to express, as I said, Hari Shankar, he is very, very good friend of mine, and he has helped me also. I think the whole Amrita team, and I really want to visit again. I come to Trivandrum and I meet all the students and all the faculty team and everyone there.
Also, the invitation is open to Cairo as well. If you really want to take a break before you go to Labasna, I heard some people are telling that the trip could be, the foundation course could be pushed to maybe, I don't know, much later. In that case,
If it
can,
pushes to January, then I'll definitely come and spend New Year over there.
yeah, come crash here, and then any closing remarks to our aspirants, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's a very tough phase now. I can understand that. Just I think 12 days left, right? Before prelims, 12 or 13
Yeah,
days. So I mean
10
that, yeah, 10 days. It's very, very tough phase. All of the aspirants should be in that panic mode, what to do and what not to do. I think there are two, three things that they need to keep in mind. One, they should calm down and they should believe that whatever they have learned and whatever they have read, that is enough to crack this examination. First, this should be the understanding. Second, uh, just revise your content again and again. Whatever you have read, because UPSC is not like IIT. If you have a conceptual understanding, you can crack it. Like UPSC requires your factual knowledge to be sound as well. So just revise your content, your notes again and again. And then third is be calm and attempt 90 or 93 questions. I mean, not less than 90 questions. That is very important. I think I haven't seen anyone, very few people who like attempt only 75 or 80 question and they clear this examination, because it's a cutthroat competition and everyone knows that one should score above 100 or 100 marks to crack this prelims examination. So these are the few things. Be calm, composed, revise your notes again and again. First, calm. Second, revise your notes. And third, try to attempt 90 or 93 questions and try to go for calculated guesswork as well. Then only you can crack this examination and be happy. If not clear, the life is beautiful. I mean, there are other attempts to come. And if not UPSC, then something beautiful. See, myself is saying that even I was very stressed, but at the end of the day, we need to understand that life is beyond UPSC and we should enjoy our life also. So I think these three things they should understand, and they should just give their best shot. All the best to all the aspirants. Yeah.
Again, it's such a pleasure, and it's truly a wonderful moment because, I really remember the last time, when I cracked and you were interviewing me, and, we were like towards the end of the discussion, I thought, such a wonderful experience to be interviewed by your close friend. In fact, for your best friend that way. And,
I feel the same. I think it's such an amazing moment that we used to so much think about that. Okay, what we're gonna do later on in life. We were thinking about some plans also, working together. Then all of a sudden you went into service. Then I felt, okay, what am I going to do alone now? Now I am going to enter into service, and this is something we complete a circle now. And this is a beautiful moment. And now you are taking my interview, and this is so special. And thank you so much for being an amazing friend and guide and everything.
Okay, then I think once again, thank you, Ayush sir, for, extracting time from your busy schedule, especially when the results have come. And then I'm pretty sure that you're going to be extremely busy. And, I have my message to all the aspirants and all the people who are watching it. Be at it. Something which is worth having doesn't come easy. Yeah. So you might have to really, work really hard for that. And, I wish you all the very best, and, hope to be your colleague sooner or later. Okay, then signing off. Bye.
Okay, bye.